Hey everyone, I'm Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney, and I'm here to talk about Digital Homicide's digital suicide. Last video, we talked about YouTube censorship and how most content hosting companies make their terms and conditions very favorable to themselves and quite unfavorable to you. After all, what are you going to do? Use some other service that has similarly broad terms and conditions? Well, this week, Digital Homicide has made a great example out of the broad nature of those agreements. The company has committed digital suicide by filing a lawsuit against 100 Steam users and requesting a court order for a subpoena to uncover the identities of at least 11 of them. Valve has responded by removing all of the studio's titles from sale on Steam, effectively shutting down their business since most people buy PC games using Steam. Digital Homicide is a game development and publishing company run by James and Robert Romine. They are well known for releasing titles which are lower quality than many customers find acceptable. This leads to a huge number of bad reviews, negative comments, and of course, some amount of internet hate. Normally, companies work very hard on public relations, often turning to a professional to assist when the reviews are bad. Instead, it appears that Mr. Romine takes these things on himself. He alleges that this dispute escalated when he didn't get the support he needed from Valve to help control the worst of the messages and reviews on Steam. You may remember this company from way back in 2014 when Digital Homicide and developer Imminent Uprising responded to a critical video review from Jim Sterling of Escapist fame by re-uploading the critique video with written commentary overlaid criticizing the review itself. Jim hilariously responded by re-uploading that video again, this time with himself laughing the whole time. The community, of course, gave the title even more bad reviews, which led to a ban war on the Steam forums with the developer. Then, yet another re-upload of the critique video appeared, with even more criticism, only for both of the developers' re-uploads to be voluntarily removed a day later. Then, as now, the publisher turned to the courts and filed a lawsuit against Mr. Sterling, alleging over $10 million in damages. That lawsuit is currently awaiting adjudication on Jim Sterling's motion to dismiss. Now, fast forward to September of 2016, and into court comes James Romine again, pro se, meaning without a lawyer and representing himself. He drafts and files another lawsuit in federal court in Arizona, because that's where he lives, alleging that, amongst these reviews and comments, are competitors just trying their hardest to hurt the business. So the lawsuit seeks the identities of reviewers who Mr. Romine claims are liable for, and this list is not even all of it, impersonation, false accusations of impersonation, false accusations of theft, conspiracy to vandalize and destroy personal property, continual criminal property damage, conspiracy to commit harassment, stalking, conspiracy to commit cyberbullying, taking advantage of the lack of moderator tools and circumventing moderator tools to commit harassment, formation of an internet hate group, intentional tortious interference with a contract, and finally, belittling and mocking of customers and the plaintiff on the internet. Very few of these things are easily actionable, and you need to at least cite the law that you think applies to your claims. So Mr. Romine goes on to allege actual causes of action for conspiracy to violate civil rights under a federal civil rights law, disorderly conduct, stalking, and/or harassment under Arizona state law, criminal impersonation against at least one defendant under Arizona state law, and tortious interference with a contract, libel, unjust enrichment, restitution, and negligence, also under state law. Mr. Romine is asking for damages of just under $18 million. The documents filed by Mr. Romine are about the same level of quality as the games he purports to develop, with inconsistent formatting, missing lines, missing punctuation, run-on sentences, and page-long bolded paragraphs, making even more allegations of impersonation and interference. One can only imagine what he put himself through writing the 58 pages of this complaint. In the filing, Mr. Romine admits that legal action was threatened against some or all of these defendants, causing at least one of them to take down their account. That defendant is still included in the lawsuit. It's important to note that the plaintiff doesn't need to have all of his facts together at this stage of the lawsuit. This is called the pleading stage of the lawsuit, and the federal pleading standard is intentionally low. This is because the plaintiff usually doesn't have all of the facts they need to complete their allegations at this stage, and nor has the defendant had a chance to make their defenses and counterclaims, or file any one of a number of motions, including a motion to dismiss or to join a party. All that needs to be in the complaint is a coherent narrative of the basic facts that make out the claims involved in the case, claims upon which relief can be granted, upon which the court could rule in favor of the plaintiff if those allegations were proven true. When properly pled, a complaint can survive a motion to dismiss, after which the parties will enter the discovery stage of the lawsuit, which is the discovery of relevant evidence. This is when the parties are allowed to ask each other questions that are related to the claims and defenses in the case, and the other party has to answer those questions under oath or penalty of perjury. Mr. Romaine has made these allegations against anonymous defendants. Those defendants have a Fifth Amendment due process right to be notified of his seeking their identities. So now, a judge will have to hear and advise on the format and method of the subpoenas to Valve so that those defendants' rights can be preserved while still allowing the plaintiff to continue with the lawsuit. Any of those defendants could hire an attorney to respond for them and try to keep themselves anonymous. While the papers have been filed, a judge has not yet held a hearing or granted Mr. Romaine the right to send any of these subpoenas. So at this point, Valve has reacted the way they have, simply based on their knowledge of the lawsuit and their distaste for this sort of dispute occurring on their platform. They very likely have a right to remove Digital Homicide's titles from Steam under their terms of service with each and every developer that publishes games on the platform, which, as previously discussed, is usually quite favorable to the content host, usually allowing them to do pretty much whatever they want, and there's usually little you can do about it. These sorts of limits are seen as the lubricant for contracting in the modern world, making entities like the Steam store possible by severely limiting Valve's involvement in adjudicating disputes, something it seems Lord Gaben genuinely dislikes. And who wouldn't? Will Mr. Romaine seek to include claims against Valve now? Perhaps, especially considering how far he was willing to go on vague allegations and damage claims. But remember, Mr. Romaine will have to prove each and every one of these allegations in court, assuming the defendants fight the lawsuit. That's a big assumption. Also, that same agreement Mr. Romaine has with Valve and Steam will probably limit his ability to make claims against them, though that doesn't stop anyone from trying and having their day in court. Mr. Romaine could also be using these allegations to only seek the defendant's identities and may drop the lawsuit if he receives a complete response from Valve. Plaintiffs who use this tactic typically then send demand letters attempting to extract settlement money from defendants who may not want to hire a lawyer and go to court, which can be very expensive. Ultimately, if some or all of the defendants are liable, Mr. Romaine would also have to prove an actual damage amount, requiring even more court activity. How can you show that any one Steam review tanked your sales? Well, he's going to have to, if it gets that far. Without the assistance of legal counsel, I'm not sure he's entirely up to it. Mr. Romaine himself estimates he'll be required to put in over 1,500 hours to pursue the lawsuit. Valve's reasoning for removing all of Digital Homicide's games from sale on Steam is for their hostility to Steam customers. Mr. Romaine, in turn, puts up a website requesting legal counsel and claims that he will pursue the lawsuit against Valve as well. He presented some more of his arguments in favor of his lawsuit, such as a lack of moderator support from Valve, not having a great time putting up with threatening messages and reviews on Steam, and tried to clarify that the lawsuit recently filed is solely in regards to individuals where no resolution was able to be obtained from Steam to provide a safe environment for us to conduct business. The Digital Homicide website has since been replaced with a less dramatic one. If you, or anyone you know, has any information on the perpetrators of these heinous crimes against this innocent developer, please say something in the comments below. I might go through the elements of each of Mr. Romaine's individual claims in a future video if there's interest. What are your thoughts about the lawsuit? How do you think Mr. Romine should handle the threats? Should he just make better games, or do you think even a modest indie game studio should be afforded better protections on Steam and other game store platforms? Should Valve be banning developers just based on the filing of a lawsuit alone? How about based on the facts of this lawsuit? I am copyright attorney Leonard French, and I thank you for watching. I enjoy responding to your comments, so please leave your thoughts and questions below. Please hit the like button if you've enjoyed this video, and please subscribe to receive future videos. I'm doing my best to release a new video every Monday, or at least one or more per week. Stay wonderful, stay cool, and I'll see you in the comments. This video could alternately be titled Unintended but Totally Foreseeable Consequences.